Hello and welcome to this week's service at the Ordinary Office. Can you believe it's September? I can't. I don't know where August has gone, but here we are. And for most of us, or for a lot of us who are in the rhythms of schools around children, or for ourselves with universities, academia, college, or just courses for fun, it's a fresh beginning, a fresh start. Perhaps even for jobs, fresh beginnings, fresh starts, lots of that going on today. And we have Liz who is going to speak to us today about what that means for her and her family. I'm really excited about this. Liz is a member of our community who approached us and asked us if she could speak. She had something to share and we're delighted to say yes. And if you feel like you've got something on your heart that God has laid on your heart that you'd like to share, please do message me. I'm always open to that. That's how I first came to be involved in the Ordinary Office, and we'd love to invite more people to share what God is giving you to say. So without further ado, you know the drill by now: coffee, cake, cheese, whatever it is that fits your needs, chorizo even. And we shall get on with the service for this week.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Come on! Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
Ecclesiastes 1, 9 to 10, and 3, 1 to 8. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, "See, this is new"? It has already been in the ages before us. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace.
Hi, I've been thinking a lot about change recently. I think because September is that time of the year where certain things change. Children go back to school after the summer holiday and they go to different classes, they go to different schools, and that's a big change. But also, it's a time when ministers change from one circuit to another. And change can be quite difficult. We get used to the way things were, and then something comes along and we have to change our way of thinking, our way of doing things. And I guess because my husband's job's just changed and we've moved from Norfolk to South Yorkshire, we've had to really think through what that change means for us individually, for me in particular. And I have found the changes that we've undergone this past year in our family particularly difficult. 3 years ago, we moved from Derbyshire to Norfolk, expecting to be there for 5 years. And after 3 years, because in part of the impact that COVID has had on church families, quite a few of the churches in that circuit had to close. And that was a difficult decision for them. And I respect the way that they went about discussing it and making those decisions. It was difficult for us as a family because as a lay employee, my husband did not have the guarantee of staying in that circuit that an ordained person would have. And so earlier than expected, we found ourselves searching for a new place to live and a new place to serve. That change has had me thinking about so much that perhaps we take for granted, and how a simple thing like moving house brings about changes in all ways of our life. Just moving a couple of miles down the road can involve changing schools for children. It can involve changing doctor surgeries, changing the shops that we use, that we've got used to, and which are no longer available to us. Moving from one part of the country to another means that all that is familiar to us suddenly becomes unfamiliar. And we have to find our way once again. Finding the shops that can provide the basic necessities. Finding our way around a strange town or city. finding new friends, connecting with a new community. How will they take us? How will that church relate to us, and how can we relate to their experiences, which are going to be different to ours? And you know, I've been thinking a lot about Ecclesiastes, and where it talks about there's nothing new under the sun, but also about there being a season. And September is that change from the summer to autumn, from sunshine towards darker, colder days. And that also led me to think about how we as followers of Jesus are being called to change in the way that we respond to what is happening in the world around us. How can we, as individuals, as churches, as communities, whether in a physical sense or in an online sense, respond to the cost of living crisis and a government in this country that seems to be so far absent and to have a lack of understanding of how somebody who does not have wealth lives. There's a total discontinuity, an inability on the part of those people who have been elected to be our representatives in government to understand the basic needs of the people that they are supposed to serve. And we see it every day. And that got me thinking about what Jesus taught his disciples when he taught them that they had the power within themselves to effect change. And I think as a society, we often don't realise the power that we have individually, collectively, to effect change. We are so used to looking to an element of our society who we have naturally put on a pedestal and believed that they were the ones who could move us forward, that they had a natural leadership position. And actually, Jesus says the opposite. He says that we, each of us, are created in the same image as God, and that we have the same ability to effect change when we seek God in all that we do. We just don't know it. We just don't know how to put that ability to make change into action. And that, we become powerless. We become powerless because we are so trained, we have it so ingrained into our psyche that only certain people can lead, that only certain people can make change. And when we do think outside the box, the minute we go to somebody and say, I've got this idea, why don't we do this? Our ideas are either dismissed or they are put into a system whereby they have to go to a committee, and that committee then decides. And that can take months. And by that time, the need may have gone, or somebody else has come along who does not have that restriction upon them, and they have put into place the very thing that we've been thinking about. I don't know about you, but I get really frustrated with the way that both church and society is so restricted in the way that it responds to things. We are not allowed, in some ways, to voice what our need is. We are not listened to with regard to what our need is. Too often we are told what we need. Or we are told what we will be given. And the two are not always compatible. Sometimes people get it right. But a lot of times we don't, because we've lost the ability to listen. We've lost the ability to change the way that we think and the way that we do things. September, as I said, seems to be a natural time of change. And I believe that God is calling us to listen to Him and to be willing to change in the way that we respond. To do things that are uncomfortable to us because they are outside of the norm of what we've always done. But God and Jesus didn't do things normally. Jesus did not connect with the powers that be. He went to the people on the margins, to the ordinary, everyday people, and He encouraged them to see themselves as having the ability to change what was happening in their life. When he asked people, what is it that you would have me do for you? That was a radical change. He wasn't telling people, hey, I'm the Son of God. I know exactly what you need and I'm going to do it for you. He asked, what is it that you need? As Christians, as followers of Jesus, we need to stop planning what we think people need. We need to get alongside people who have a totally different way of looking at things. We need to connect with people that we wouldn't normally connect with. We need to listen to the needs of our community. We don't necessarily have what they need, but we have the ability to help by listening, by doing, by coming outside of our comfort zones. Sometimes we are the ones who have to cross the road to meet people where they are, instead of expecting them to cross over to where we are. Change comes when we realise that people are not necessarily where we are, and that we have to wake up and move ourselves to be close to them in order to help them to move closer to where we were. That may sound a little strange, but change only comes when we leave our comfort zone and we step out and we allow ourselves to be used by God in ways that we would never have considered before. As we move towards autumn, winter, and all that entails, the cold, the dark, the lack of things that grow, you know, that light, that colour. Let's not be afraid of it, but let's ask God how we can change and how we can be more effective in helping those around us who are frightened and alone and have little to enable them to get through. Amen.
But do you know how much I love you? Do you know that before you were even in existence, I dreamed of you and loved you? Do you know that when you were in your mother's womb, I looked upon you and smiled because I loved you? Do you know that when you were born, all of heaven sang and rejoiced because I loved you? Do you know that as you grew and made your mistakes and built your life and crafted your art, I loved you through every step of the way, good and bad, because I loved you? Do you know that nothing you could do could make me love you more? That nothing you could do could make me love you less? Because I love you. You are loved. Sweet precious child, do you know just how loved you are? Can you feel it? Sit and rest with me a while. You are loved. You always will be loved. For I am the God of love. I am love. My Holy Spirit of love dwells within you. Jesus, my Son, came to teach love. Fierce, angry love, peace, calm love. Love that sent him to his death. All that because you are loved. You are loved. Held in the palm of my hand. Loved.